Hi everyone, it's Mark and welcome back. In this video, I want to talk to you about revoking consent when you've agreed to stay voluntarily at a Baker facility. So if you have signed a voluntary admission agreement at a Baker facility, and whether it was coerced or whether you were tricked or whether you actually realized what you were signing, the idea is that if you're there voluntarily, well then you should be able to leave voluntarily. So I'm going to talk to you in this video about sort of what the statute says and the reality of the situation. So if you go to a facility and they get you to sign a voluntary admission agreement, and in other videos I've talked about how that can happen, but you've signed the agreement. Once you've decided that you want to leave, the facility has 24 hours to release you. If they don't release you, then they're supposed to file something with the court requesting a court order to detain you. And so that is sort of what the statute says. If they revoke consent, you're supposed to go to court and petition the court for an order to detain the person. But the reality of the situation is that doesn't happen. What tends to happen is the facility says, well, okay, if you're revoking consent, that sounds fine, but we're going to keep you anyway. And we're going to keep you involuntarily, which means we get to keep you for another 72 hours. And at the end of 72 hours, one of two things is going to happen. Either we'll let you go, which probably isn't going to happen, or we're going to go to court and get a court order and keep you for much longer, potentially up to 6 months. So what's really going on here is the Baker facilities are ignoring the statute. They're violating the law. And by getting you to sign a voluntary admission agreement, first of all, they're circumventing the requirements of due process that are in the Baker Act statute, and that's probably, that's a sort of separate conversation. But more importantly, they're basically getting you to agree to stay, and then when you revoke consent, they're ignoring your request. Again, they're violating the statute, and instead of going to get a court order so that you get a hearing and due process, they're just detaining you for up to another 72 hours and then deciding what they want to do with you afterwards. And so what I would say to you, and I've said this in other videos, don't agree to stay voluntarily. If the facility thinks they should keep you, and whether they're doing it legally or illegally, then let them go get a court order for it. You should have a hearing. You have a right to counsel. And so if you're a family of a loved one who's at a facility, this is why I am so adamant about taking action as soon as possible, because nobody knows that your loved one is even there. The facilities don't report to anybody. They don't have to tell anybody that your loved one is there. And they are a law unto themselves. They are judge, juror, and executioner. So if your loved one has been detained and they're not free to leave after signing a voluntary admission agreement, then the time to take action is now. So with that said, thanks for tuning in. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.